Okay, doing a quick movie here of label connector for QuickBooks, doing a pretty advanced feature here where let's say you want to do labels or documents with barcodes on them from QuickBooks with multiple items onto one label or onto one sheet. I'm showing you this on a sheet, but this could be printed to a label printer on a 4x6 label as well. But we're just outputting this to the XPS printer that's for you to see during the demo. So, because we can't do an actual printed output on the movie here. But so here you see the final output. I'm going to circle back to this, but you see we've got 4 items on here with barcodes of the QuickBooks item with the description, with the invoice number on there, and the customer address. So let's back out of this now and take a look at like how we were able to get this to be produced. You see here an example of an invoice in QuickBooks. It's got 7 items on here. So we may want to be able to produce and output this to a label printer or to a document printer with barcodes on it. So inside label connector, we can query this same order, pull up the contents of it in packaging mode in label connector. You can select all of the items or some of the items to print onto the document. So again, we said we had 7 items on this order. Let's just unselect the top 2 here and not print them. So we'll get an output that begins with the anchor base black. I've got a label design. I can show you how this was designed in Bartender as well towards the end here, but we're going to output this to the XPS printer. Let's go ahead and print this. That's going to let me create the file here. We'll just call this one test 7 for now and save. So now let's go into that folder and see what was produced for test 7. So we created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Again, that order originally had 7 items on it. So if we were to leave all 7 on there, the way I have this label formatted is it would have done, the first 6 items on this first page and then produced a second page with that third item on there. So you can see in label connector I can control and print some of the items off of the invoice. I could have printed all of them. It shows you which of these have been printed. If you're trying to keep track of that, it will reset that when you query for the order again. We don't store that value in the database, but it helps you keep track of it while you're printing. Let's say you got some of the items on one pallet and then some of the other items are going to be on another pallet. At least while you're working with that order that time, it tells you whether that particular one was printed or not. So if we open up Bartender, let's take a look at the design of this quickly. This is the invoice picking label that I had designed. So this was designed to put, again, I've got it wired so that there's 6 items per page here. If we end up with more than 6 items on the order, it's going to kick out a second page with these same values on here. These are just showing empty warnings here on the barcodes because barcodes don't like to have 0 data in them. So these would get populated with the items. You can see here I can change the view in Bartender to turn on the data source names, and you can see here these are our data sources that link these to the various fields in QuickBooks. So I had to put those in when I was designing this label in Bartender in there under the data source name for each one. So anyway, getting into some background there on the label. But this is the label design in Bartender. This is how label connector pulls up the order inside label connector. And this is the same invoice shown in QuickBooks. So again, we can basically get output of this invoice to a label with barcodes on it or to a sheet with barcodes on it. We can print all of these items. We can format labels to maybe have larger fonts. We can get into that in more detail. But you do predefine the label in Bartender to accommodate a certain amount of items per page, so that then if it has more than that many items per page, it will produce a second page. Hope this shows you that's a pretty advanced feature in Label Connector to do sheets or labels with multiple line items onto one page. Thanks.